Ever since I could remember myself, I was proud to be from Africa and I was proud to be Gullah because the first time I began to listen to Gullah, I think I was about 6 or 7 years old. There are two little boys that came from out, we lived in the city, so they came out of the country, like we would say. And it went like this. He says, MJ, he said, why you look for? He said, Stack, what you do with him? He said, spank him on the water, tie you up. I'm going to translate it. He said, MJ, he says, what? What are you to look for? What are you looking for? He says, Stack, stick. What are you going to do with him? What are you going to do with it? Spank it on the wah. Going to hit it on a tire. Then I began to listen to all of the children who came from the rural area because they had a different accent. So I started my Gullah ting a long time ago. Then I was brought up in the Amy Church. And at 5 years old, I could do the reenactment of Richard Allen leaving St. George Methodist Church in Philadelphia. So from the time I could remember myself, I was always interested in the Gullah, the African in the Gullah culture. Well, Gullah started many years ago when we were captured in Africa. When we were captured, there would be sometime between 16 and 75 different tribes and nation of people. They could not understand each other. Now, these people were extremely bright. They were highly intelligent. They said, we're going to have to put some words together so that we'll be able to understand each other, because they could not understand each other. Then they decided to put certain words together so they'll be able to help and to communicate with each other. And this is what we have continued to do to this day as African people, is to help and communicate and to help each other. Now, and putting the words together, Turner, who studied the Gullah people from Georgetown, South Carolina to Amelia Island, and after he left Jacksonville area, he went to England to study the West African languages, because we are from West Africa. Then he went to West Africa to study the people. When he came back, he said that the African people were still, the Gullah people were still using an African grammar, word order, and syntax. And I would like you to listen to me closely. The way we express ourselves is a little differently. We'll say, "E cracky teeth, e unraveling e mouth." Both things are to speak or to talk, or I'm going to send someone to the store to get some swimp. Now, if you notice, I said teeth instead of teeth. I said mouth, unraveling the mouth instead of mouth. I said swimp instead of shrimp. Now, when the Africans were combining words, they did not know the sound, the H sound in the alphabet. And that's why we'll say ting, we'll say shri instead of three. And I remember when I used to be in church, that's a little Gullah, be in church, and some of the old folks would say, "Thank God for waking me up yet this morning in my right mind." And I said, wonder why they're saying thank you, Lord, instead of saying thank. But they left the H out. And wherever the diaspora was, whether you in the Caribbean, we will leave the H off. Whether you in Haiti, you would leave the H off. Belize, and then actually, if you're in New Orleans, they might drop that H in French and in Spanish. So the H, until this day, we still drop the H off. And listen to some Africans, they will drop the H. And I consider this is a legacy that they have given us. Now, my given name is Vermelle. We also, like any other ethnic group who comes into this country, we have trouble pronouncing certain alphabet. So they give the V a W pronunciation, Vermelle. And sometimes the older folks would give it a B pronunciation, Vermelle. So we are like any other ethnic group who comes into this country. You will speak your own language and you begin to add English words to your vocabulary. And Gullah Geechee, and this is the first time I says Geechee, of course they are the same. We found out that people in Georgia and Florida, they like to be known as Geechees. The ones in South Carolina and North Carolina, are known as Gullah and Geechee, but Gullah and Geechee are the same. Sometimes people say, well, Gullah is the people and Geechee is the talk, but they are the same, Gullah Geechee culture. That is the legacy that they have left us as far as the language is concerned. But they left us so many beautiful things, and I continue, or some of the Gullah people can continue to this day to practice some of the cultural things and some of our Africanism in us. And if I could explain, I'd like to explain something as simple as this. You know, a lot of times we'll start laughing and we'll do this. We put our hands over our face. About 30 years ago, when I was working in the city of Boston, and some African teachers came from Zambia, and I started laughing. And they said, where did you get that from? And I said, what are you talking about? She said, you did this. It's an African custom. You know that black people are the only people that I've ever known that will do that. They'll put your hand over your mouth, because we believe that the African believe that do not laugh in anybody's face. We have an awful lot of Africanism in us to this day. And sometimes I would just like to sit down, and sometimes I do, to other people, and I explain all of the Africanism that we have in us. And sometimes some of the younger people will say, well, do we speak any Gullah words? I said, yes, you do. I said, you know that nice tote bag that you have? And they look around. I said, the one on your shoulder. I said, tote. It's an African word. It means to carry. Then, you know what the young one, they say, yo. Yo is an African word. I forgot whether it's Yoruba or Mendes, but it is an African word. It means you. We have so many Africanism in us. And I don't know whether I could talk about an awful lot of them today, but we have it, and we're not even aware of it.